Hi, I've just been wanting to talk with you today about something that has been on my mind for over a month now, but I just have not had a chance to put a video up or even to talk about it. And, everybody is very busy. And what I want to talk to you about today is fear and overcoming fear. And just want to share my own experiences with it and how I have been able to overcome a lot of fears in my life. And we all have a certain amount of fear. And I think one of the greatest fears that most of us will have is the fear of failure. And so then we just don't start to do anything whatsoever because we are afraid that we're going to fail. We're not going to, or we're going to make a fool out of ourselves, which sometimes that's exactly how I feel. Now, fear in itself is not bad. In fact, there is a healthy fear of, don't run out in front of traffic, or be careful when you go swimming that you need to know how to swim, or but that's a healthy kind of fear. I'm talking about the kind of fear that is controlling, that can get you down. And I can express to you that I have had so many fears, especially when I was much younger, and it really had a lot of control over my life, and I felt like I was bound and you can't do anything. Um, and one thing that was one of my fears was I had a fear that I wasn't going to be able to make it. I didn't go to college. Later on, I did extend my education, and I realized that I could do that. But when I was in high school and getting ready to graduate, I didn't think I could go anywhere else with it because I just had a hard time learning. And so I had a fear of failure, that I wouldn't be able to do that. And also, I was very shy. And I did not want to be speaking in public or be in front of people, or that people would laugh at me. When I was very young, I was laughed at by my teachers and the students, or my fellow students around me would laugh when I couldn't understand something because of my learning disability. And, you know, we can't let learning disabilities or anything like that to keep us from going forward, because in spite of that, you can still learn. It's not that you are stupid. Well, that was one thing I felt my whole entire life, not my whole entire life, but for many, many years, I just thought that I was just plain stupid. But that's not the case. When you have a learning disability, if you can push through and you can figure out things. In fact, I actually figured it out so well that my husband and we went to Spain, and I learned Spanish, and I was up in front of people all the time. And when I was younger, I could not do that. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. And I think what caused that to happen, that I did not want to talk in public. I would always fear that, oh, they're not going to like me, because I didn't like myself. And that is the case with a lot of us. And it happened when I was trying to do some work in the school, and my first grade teacher, and I was trying so hard to do it just right. And when I would write and stuff, I would draw a line and say, this is how you go to the next line. And another teacher came into the room at that time, and my teacher pulled up my paper. I thought she was going to show what a good job she's done, but that's not what she said. She said, how would you like to have a student like this? And I felt so humiliated. And that from that point on, I did not want to get in front of people. Later on in school, when you read books and you would give a book report or whatever about, and when I was called on, I would say, I can't talk, I got a sore throat, and I would take a zero rather than get up in front and be made fun of. And so that kept me hindered so long, and it was devastating. Another fear I had was the fear of heights, and I was petrified. I couldn't even climb up a ladder because I was so afraid of heights. And when you think about fears, a lot of times they come into us, we're taught fears, and And other times it comes in when you have an event or something that happens, a trauma or event. And when I was young, I used to climb up trees. I used to go up poles. I mean, I would do all that kind of stuff. And one day I was swinging from one limb to another and I missed it and I fell flat on the ground. And when I fell flat on the ground, I thought that it was like eternity. I could not breathe. I could not, it had knocked all of the air out of my lungs. And, and I couldn't get air in. And I was walking, I was trying to go to my house and say, Mom, I need help. And then finally it came in. And at that point was when that fear came in. And every time I would even go up a little bit high, I would absolutely shake. And so then you wonder why, well, how did I get over the fear of heights? Well, I still have some fear, but the best way to overcome fear is to face it and hit it straight on. You know, there's a saying like, if you fall off a horse, get right back on. Well, at that point, I tried to go right back up the tree, but I was shaking so bad. I came down and I really couldn't handle that anymore. But you know, fear can really hinder your whole entire life. When fear gets a hold of you like that, it's devastating. I remember when I would be around people and they would say they couldn't swim, you know, and I go, you can't swim? What's that? You know, because I did not have a fear of the water or swimming, because when I was very young, my grandfather taught all of the grandchildren how to swim, and I could swim by the time I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I had absolutely no fear of water. So when I see other people having fear of water, then I say, well, sometimes that fear is taught, like, oh, be careful, you're going to drown, you know. Or they might have an experience where they get choked. And so when fear comes in, a lot of times, if it's not taught, then it happens from a certain tragic or a event that has happened to you that you just can't make it, you know. And so when I went up that tree and I fell, I had that horrible fear of heights, and I carried that for many, many years. Well, it came to a point where we were living in a place where you had to hang your clothes on lines that were too high up, and I would climb up a ladder, and when I would shake, but I kept forcing myself, and then later on I could get a little higher. In fact, the other day I was doing some work in the yard, and I was cutting down part of a tree, and my husband came out of the door and he looked at me and says, wow, I can't believe this. You know, it's amazing. I remember when you were so afraid of heights that you wouldn't even go up a ladder, and here I was cutting down branches of a tree. And that's what happens. Fear can control you, but you can overcome the fear. And that's how I overcame it, is I kept facing it. And the difference between a coward and a hero or a brave person is they all have fear, but it's what you do with it. Do you let it control you, or do you push through and you overcome it? And that's what happened to me. And then with my fear of speaking in front of public, I'm doing this video, and I've always never liked to do a video of myself or to be put on the spot or to speak in public. Well, I do that all the time now. And it happened one day. We were going to church, and we were going to be having a revival in our church, and within about a week's time, and the pastor's been doing studies, and we were preparing ourselves, and I had been doing a lot of studies on the prayer and fasting. I went up to the pastor, because after the meeting or whatever, and I was sharing with him about, how the Lord was speaking to me and because I kind of wanted him to share what I was telling him with the group. And when I got through sharing all this stuff, he looked at me, he says, Nancy, why don't you do that next week? And to my surprise, I said, yes. And the minute I said, yes, I thought to myself, I can't believe I said yes. I can get in front of people, I can get in front of kids, and I can teach with the children, but I never had been able to get in front of adults because I was afraid I would make a fool of myself. They won't like what I'm saying. I don't have anything to say. And so sometimes you can be convinced that you don't have anything to say, but you have something to say. And so the next week came, and I was doing all the studying, and the next week came, and he had to put it off another week, and I go, oh, thank goodness, I'm out of this. I don't have to do it. And then he said, but I want you to do it the following week. And so I got prepared, and when I got up to speak, oh, I was shaking like everything. I was so afraid. I thought, man, I don't think I can do this, but I stood up, and once I got through with the first few sentences or whatever, all of a sudden I realized, hey, I wasn't even thinking about my fear because I was so involved in what I was saying. So I was facing my fear, and to this day, now I can get up in front of people. And it happened over and over again that each time I got up, I wasn't quite as afraid as I was the time before. Usually it's a process and it's gradual about certain things. And so, but you can overcome it. And I want to encourage you today that there's nothing that can hold you back. If you get something on your heart that you want to do, you can do it. And trust in yourself and what the Lord can do in your life. And you can do anything that you want to do. There's nothing impossible. And now, I'm not stuck any longer. I'm not bound any longer. And I want to say to you, yes, you can. You can break through this. And just me doing a video is really amazing because I would never do a video. Never, ever, ever do a video of myself because I did not like to see myself. I did not like to hear my voice. But you can do it. Amen.